here. Today we're going to be working on one of my new pre-fall patterns, 8174. We're going to do our jacket, view C. Now if you're new to sewing or you just need a little refresher course, make sure and watch the Sewing Basics video linked in the description box below. I cover all sorts of things like picking your pattern size, cutting out your tissue paper, reading all the instructions that are printed on your actual pattern, how to cut your fabric, how to read grain lines, and a whole lot of other useful information. Watch that video, then come back and sew along with me. Now we're going to work on view C, which is our jacket. Let's go over the pattern pieces you needed to have cut out. You're going to cut out 2 of pattern piece number 9, which is our pocket facing. I cut mine out of lining. You're going to cut out 2 of pattern piece number 10, which is our pocket, and I cut these out of my fabric. You're going to cut out pattern piece number 12, which is the back of our jacket, and you're going to cut out 2 of fabric. You're going to cut out pattern piece number 6, which is the front, and you're going to cut 2 of fabric and 2 of interfacing. You're going to cut out pattern piece number 25, which is the front facing of our jacket. You're going to cut 2 of fabric and 2 of interfacing. You're going to cut out pattern piece number 7, which is the side front of our jacket. You're going to cut 2 of fabric. You're going to cut out pattern piece number 24, which is our undersleeve, and you're going to cut 2 of fabric and 2 of lining. You're going to cut out pattern piece number 23, which is the upper sleeve, and you're going to cut 2 of fabric and 2 of lining. You're going to cut out pattern piece number 28. You're going to cut 2 of lining. You're going to cut out pattern piece number 27, our side front. You're going to cut 2 of lining. You're going to cut pattern piece number 26. You're going to cut 1 on the fold of fabric. You're going to cut out pattern piece number 13, which is our back facing. You're going to cut 2 of fabric. You're going to cut out pattern piece number 15, which is our side back. You're going to cut 2 of fabric and 2 of lining. You're going to cut out pattern piece number 14, which is the back panel, and you're going to cut 2 of fabric. You're going to cut out pattern piece number 19. This is the left front band. You're going to cut 2 of fabric and 2 of interfacing. You're going to cut pattern piece number 20, left side front band. You're going to cut 2 of fabric and 1 of interfacing. You're going to cut out pattern piece number 11, which is the yoke front. You're going to cut 2 of fabric and 2 of interfacing. You're going to cut out pattern piece number 18, our right front band. You're going to cut 2 of fabric and 1 of interfacing. Then you're going to cut out pattern pieces number 22 and number 16. You're going to cut 4 of each of fabric and 2 of interfacing. And lastly, you're going to cut out pattern piece number 8 out of interfacing only, and you're going to cut 2. Once you've cut out your mountain of fabric and interfacing and lining, we are ready to sew. Okay, we're going to start with our front and our side front, and what we're going to do is we're going to place them right sides facing, and you're going to pin at your notches. So make sure you align those notches. And now we're going to sew using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance from the bottom all the way up to the top. Okay, once you're done stitching together your front to side fronts I want you to press your seam allowances towards the front of your jacket, and you're going to top stitch like I've done here, a 1/4 inch away from your seam line. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to sew your bounding box. So you should have transferred this little bar that you see on the side front. That's where our pocket is going to go, our zipper. So on the other side you can see that I've already stitched all the way around. You're going to do that to both of your fronts. So make sure that you interfaced it and that you created your bounding box so that you can stitch all the way around it. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and slash this open. So the way I like to do it is I fold it in half and then I make a slit right in the middle. And then I'm going to cut. Be careful not to cut through your stitching. And then you're going to cut out towards your dots, so towards your corners. Make sure you don't clip into your stitching. You're going to do that to the other side the same way. Okay, now I want you to grab one of your pocket zippers and we're going to line up the edge with the cut edge of our fabric. So I want you to go ahead and pin your zipper in place, making sure that your zipper stop is up towards the dot that's up here. And I'm going to go ahead and pin in place. We're going to baste this down. So I'm going to pin matching the edge of my zipper tape to the edge of my fabric. Go ahead and pin your other zipper the same way, and then we're going to baste this down. Okay, we're going to go ahead and change this out to our zipper foot. Make things a little easy on ourselves. And we're going to baste our zipper tape down to our fabric. I'm going to go up to the longest stitch possible on my machine. I'm going to move my zipper pull out of the way for just a second. And you're going to baste the other one the same exact way. Okay, I opened my zipper just a little bit, and you'll have to open and unzip it while you're sewing this just to get that zipper pull out of the way depending on the zipper foot that you have. So I'm going to place my facing now over the top of what we just sewed, matching up the dots on my bounding box to the dots on my facing, and we're going to pin. And now we're going to stitch through all thicknesses in the same 1/4 inch seam. You're going to sew the other one the same way. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and turn this to the inside. And we're going to press it. So turn it to the inside, the whole zipper. And I'm going to press. And then you're going to continue pressing the remainder of our bounding box by turning under just along that stitching line that we have. And press it. And then for the little corner, I like to make sure that it's poking out. And then I give it a good press. And you're going to continue pressing it. Once it's all done, it's going to look like this. So it's pressed all the way around on the outside. And then I want you to go ahead and top stitch through all thicknesses along the edge. And then this is what it looks like on the back. Now we're going to attach our pocket. Okay, now I want you to grab your pocket. You're going to lay it over the top, matching up the curved rounded edge here and your double notches. So pin there. And then continue pinning around your pocket and your facing. And now we're going to go to the machine and we're going to stitch only onto our pocket and our facing. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to stitch around using 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. We're going to leave this top edge free. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that I'm not catching any of my jacket. I only want to work on my facing and my pocket. I'm going to keep my zipper foot on here for a while. You're going to stitch your other pocket to your facing the same exact way. Once you have your facing and your pocket sewn together on both, now we're going to top stitch all the way around. So what I want you to do is I want you to continue where you stopped your first line of top stitching that we did. Put your needle in there and you're going to sew all the way around. And now you have your zipper and your pocket all finished. You're going to do the same thing to your other pocket. Once we're done with our pockets, you can give it one final press. And now go ahead and grab your front facings. So it's these two pieces that look like this. It's the front yokes. And what we're going to do is we're going to pin them to the front. And you're going to match up those notches and pin, and then we're going to stitch this together using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. To top stitch 1/4 inch away from your seam. Okay, now go ahead and press your back and then grab your back facing piece, and with right sides facing, you're going to first align that single notch and you're going to pin, and we're going to stitch this, and we're going to stitch using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, now I want you to press your seam to one side and you're going to top stitch 1/4 inch from your seam. Okay, now once you have your back facing in place, we're going to go ahead and pin our panel to our facing. So you want to make sure that you align your double notches and that right sides are facing. Pin there first. Now we're going to stitch using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. You're going to sew your other back facing the same way. You're going to do both sides the same way, and then what we're going to do is we're going to fold our back facing underneath our back, and we're going to top stitch this. Make sure you don't catch your back panel. Now it should look like this. Okay, go ahead and press it, and then I have basted the very top and I basted down the sides so that they don't move while I'm constructing the rest of the jacket. Now you can see you have this beautiful vent here. Now I want you to go ahead and grab your back side pieces, and with right sides facing, you're going to pin at your double notch first, and you're going to pin the other side back to your other back the same way. We're going to stitch using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Stitch the other one the same way. Okay, give it a press and go ahead and top stitch along your side back. Okay, now we're going to be attaching our right front to our side back. On the right side only, pin at that single notch first. And we're going to stitch that using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Once we're done with that, we're going to press that seam open, and we're going to build out the left side of our front jacket. Now set this aside, and we're going to work on the left side of our jacket. Okay, now we're going to work on the left side of our jacket. So what I want you to do is I want you to grab your front, and I want you to grab your interfaced left band, and we're going to place it right sides facing and pin, and then we're going to stitch using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Then we're going to press our seam toward the band, and we're going to top stitch. Okay, we're going to go ahead and work on our bands. So right now I'm looking at my back band, and so what we're going to do is we're going to pin our belt loops or our carriers onto our back. So you should have created your carriers. I folded mine in half and then sewed a 1/4 inch, and then I turned it inside out, and I did some top stitching just because I like the look of it. So what I want you to do is we're going to place it over the top of your dot. So you should have marked your dots for your carriers, and we're going to stitch right across just to hold them in place. We're going to do the same exact thing to the other pieces. So we're going to do the same thing to our right band. You're going to pin it, and then you're going to sew just across the top, and then we're also going to do the same thing with the other side, the left side. Okay, go ahead and set these aside and grab your tabs. So you should have 4. I want you to place right sides together, and then we're going to stitch all the way around using 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. So if you want, you can go ahead and pin. And we're going to sew all the way around for both tabs. Do both tabs the same way. Okay, go ahead and trim around your tabs. Turn them right side out. We're going to give it a press. We're going to poke out that corner, and then we're going to top stitch all the way around. Go ahead and press it and top stitch. Okay, once you have your tabs done, we're going to attach them to our back band. So go ahead and place them in the middle. Make sure you're aligning your notches and go ahead and pin. And then go ahead and stitch them down. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and attach our right and our front bands, and with right sides facing, go ahead and pin. Matching your notches, of course. And you're going to stitch using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, before we attach our band to this portion of our jacket, we're going to go ahead and attach the side front. So I want you to go ahead and, with right sides facing, of course, pin. And we're going to stitch this down using a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Then we're going to attach our band to this portion of our jacket. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and attach our band. So what I want you to do is I want you to pin up your pockets so they are out of the way. And then with right sides facing, we're going to pin our center back first. And you should have 2 notches on your jacket back and 2 on your band. Go ahead and match up your side seam. And your center fronts. And we're going to sew this down using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Go ahead and press your seams down towards your band and then top stitch along the top edge, making sure to not catch your tabs or your carriers, so move them out of the way, and go ahead and top stitch. Once you go ahead and do your top stitching, you can go ahead and stitch down your belt loops over at the bottom. And now we're going to attach our zippers. Okay, we're going to start with our right side, and we're going to grab our zipper and go ahead and separate it, and you're going to use the side that has the zipper pull. I want you to place it face down. There should be 7/8 of an inch above and below your zipper, and it should be 1/4 inch away from the edge. And then go ahead and pin, and we're going to baste that in place. Now that we have the right side of our zipper stitched on, basted on, we're going to go ahead and do the same thing with the other side of the zipper. So, or 7/8 of an inch from the bottom edge, and we're going to pin, and 1/4 of an inch away from the raw edge here. And when you get to the top, you're going to bend it over, sort of like you just saw me do here, and pin. And we're going to baste it in place just like we did the other zipper. Okay, now that both zippers are in place, we're going to attach the side front to our front. So we're just going to match up our notches. I want to go ahead and match up my seams here on my bands and pin all the way up. Once it's pinned, we're going to sew using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, now once you have attached your front side to your front and give it a good press, we're going to go ahead and attach the front yoke the same way we did for the other side. So go ahead and pin it and stitch it down using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, now we can finally go ahead and stitch our shoulders together. So I'm going to turn this right side out and I'm going to place my front over my back, right side's facing at the shoulders. Pin at the notch. Now we're going to sew using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. I want you to grab 2 3-inch carriers and we're going to pin them to our shoulder. I'm going to pin and I'm going to sew this down, and then we're going to flip this one over and we're going to stitch across the top of it. Do the other one the same way. Now we're going to work on our shoulder tabs. You're going to sew these exactly the same way that you did for our tabs that we placed at the band of our jacket. Okay, go ahead and stitch your tabs down to your arm's eye at the shoulder, making sure that the point of your tab sits right on the seam line, and then of course they slip up under your carrier. Now go ahead and grab your upper and lower sleeve. Okay, I want you to place your undersleeve over your upper sleeve with right sides facing, and we're going to go ahead and pin, match your notches. And then I want you to pull on over to the other side, pin at your notches. You're going to sew both seams using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance for both sleeves. Once you've sewn both of your sleeves, go ahead and create 2 rows of basting stitches so that you can pull and pick up some of that ease in the cap sleeve. Turn your sleeve right side out. And now we're going to pin our sleeve to our jacket. So I'm going to match my single notch first. And then I'm going to pin my center notch on my sleeve to my shoulder seam. Now you should have dots that should line up. And now I'm going to stitch all the way around using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Once you're done attaching your sleeves, you can go ahead and set this aside. And you're going to grab your facing for the front and your back, and we're going to pin them together at the shoulders. Match up those notches and pin. We're going to stitch across using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, now you're going to sew your lining. So you're going to stitch your side front to your fronts the same way we did for the jacket, and then you're going to stitch your side back to your back, and then of course you're going to stitch your fronts to your back at the side seams. On one of the side seams, you're going to leave about a 5-inch opening because that's where we're going to turn our jacket outside after we sew our lining together. So on one of the side seams, from front to back, you're going to leave an opening. Now go ahead and construct your lining pieces the way we did for our jacket. Okay, once you have your lining sewn together, as you can see, I left an opening on one of my sides, and I went ahead and pressed it all the way around. And now we're going to attach our band, our facing of the band, to our lining. So we're going to have one extra piece here that we had attached to the front left, and we're going to attach it here. So you're going to have the center back, the right, and then 2 for the left. You're going to stitch them using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, and then you're going to align your notches, right sides facing to your lining, and we're going to sew 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Continue until you're finished sewing your band sections together. Now we're going to sew our band to our lining. Alright, once you have also done your sleeves the same way that you did the sleeves for your jacket and attached them the same exact way, we're going to go ahead and place our lining over our jacket. Right sides facing, of course. And I'm going to start pinning at my shoulder, and you're going to pin all the way around your jacket. Match up your side seams. Now you're going to stitch all the way around your jacket. Now that you've sewn all the way around your jacket, you're going to go ahead and clip your corners, clip into your curves, and you're going to turn your jacket right side out through the opening in the lining. Alright guys, once you turn your jacket right side out, the only thing left for you to do is to press it, do your understitching as far as possible as you can. And then you're going to hand stitch your buttons onto your tabs. So you're going to do each tab on your waistline and then of course on your shoulder. And then the only thing left to do after that is for you to try on your jacket, see how you like the length of the sleeve, adjust that. Then you're going to turn in your hem allowance, you're going to slip stitch it closed, and then you will slip stitch your lining, of course, to your sleeve. And then you are all finished. Don't forget to finish off the inside opening of your lining. I hope you've enjoyed this sew along. Until next time, peace.